Really did almost curb stomp the fuck out of an elderly man in Whole Foods yesterday. I should have fucking done it, to be honest. I should have fucking done it. Oh, I fucked up. I fucked up with the amount of green stuff I put on my face. What is happening? I truly do blame this entire situation on Sissy. I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna fix this. Man starts talking to Sissy in Whole Foods yesterday, randomly talking to her about the kombucha. I walk away because I don't really like men speaking to random people in public, and this is exactly fucking why. Sissy and the old man are having a conversation. I walk up. Immediately, this man is like, oh my god, you girls have to be sisters. You guys have the same features. And we're like, hi, like, yeah, we're sisters. He was like, you guys look so much alike. You just look rounder, and points at me. I said, rounder? What the fuck do you mean rounder? Man, it's like, no, like, your face is just so much rounder than hers. This fucker double downs on it. Like, if me being rounder in the face isn't enough, he doubles down. He was like, no, it just looks like if you took her features and put like 50% more water in her face, it would be you. And I'm like, I'm standing there just like baffled, and grandpa keeps fucking going. He keeps doubling down on how round my face is. At this point in my head, I'm like, oh, I want to fuck his shit up. Like, because to me, what he said was basically, I'm a big backed whale, and he just couldn't find the right words to say it and used rounder instead. Oh, and it gets 30 times worse because grandpa has no fucking chill. He looks at me and he's like, but don't worry, like, you're not heavy at all. Like, you're really not heavy at all. I start to like him a little bit more because I'm like, oh, like, no, like, he thinks I'm skinny. After he tells me that I'm not round at all, he looks dead ass at Sissy and goes, but you're not skinny either. Like, Sissy handles these situations better than me. She's just like laughing. She's like, all right, like, we gotta go. Like, laughing it off. I'm looking at this old fuck like, I'm ready to square up with this motherfucker. Like, he's out here calling me round, cause saying that Sissy's not skinny. Like, I'm ready to fight this dumb bitch. Like, to call me round in the face while I'm just trying to buy my poppy at Whole Foods is fucking nuts. Like, what? Who sent you? Like, did my exes send you to just like harass the shit out of me? You can just see it in my eyes that I'm heavily not fucking with the man. So she's like, all right, come on, let's go. I forgot how to do makeup because what the fuck is this blush? I start venting to Sissy because I'm fucking baffled that this old fuck just called me round. And Sissy's like, oh my god, you just take everything so personal. Like, you take everything so fucking personal. I'm like, dude, he called me a big backed whale in Whole Foods. Like, you would also be upset. He's like, well, he called me not skinny. And like, look, I'm not taking it personal. You just take everything so fucking personal. I start to spiral like any bitch who got called round in the middle of a Whole Foods would. Like, I did eat a lot this holiday season, and like, I just had so much fucking salt the day before. I just got off a fucking plane. Planes make me look round. I'm spiraling. Sissy's fine. Like, Sissy doesn't give a single fuck because she's apparently so unbothered. Oh, and if I ever see this old fuck again, I'm fighting. Like, it's on sight the next time I see him. I kid you not.
I'm feeling so messy today. So I'm gonna tell you about the time that I dated another famous TikToker. I am pretty sure he publicly cheated on me, but we'll get there. Disclaimer, this is no hate. This all happened years ago. Trust me, I am so over it. I just genuinely think it's funny as fuck. I started doing TikTok in the spring of 2019 and pretty quickly gained like a couple 100K. Fast forward to fall of 2019. One day I wake up and all of my comments are like, oh my god, go look at so-and-so's duet. And basically this really hot TikTok famous guy duetted one of my videos, like publicly flirting with me. I think I had like 200K or something, and he had like 1 million followers, so I was shook. DMs were slid and we started talking. The only problem was this guy is British. In fact, that was quite literally his whole brand. Like, being hot and British was his thing. We would like FaceTime a bunch and text a bunch, but ultimately we just lived on different continents, so it fizzled out. That was until the end of 2019 when we both realized we would be attending the same convention in March of 2020. The convention being Playlist Live, which is like a social media convention equivalent to VidCon. So then we started talking again all the time, falling asleep on FaceTime, the whole 9 yards. Because we knew we were actually going to see each other in person. We both planned on getting to the convention a day early. He got a hotel room for just the two of us before we went to our Airbnb with the group that we were doing the convention with. March of 2020 comes around and it's time for the convention. We fly to Orlando. We meet up for the first time in the airport. It's low-key straight out of a movie. I like run and jump into his arms. I still have the video. It's actually like really fucking cute. But we were very much just like elated to finally meet in person. We go back to the hotel, we share a night together, and then we meet up with our friends the next day and we go to the convention. And then I shit you not, within like an hour of being in said convention. Mind you, this was like prime TikTok 2020. It is me and a group of other TikTok famous people. This was in my bright red hair era. Bitch, we were all getting stopped by fans like every 10 feet. For reference, this is the era I am talking about. I get a hey girlie DM on Instagram. And this girl comes with receipts. months. Basically the entire time leading up to the event, where he was FaceTiming me every single night, he was essentially dating some girl back home in London. Granted, him and I weren't dating yet, so he wasn't like actually cheating on me, but he had explicitly told me he was not talking to anyone else. Meanwhile, he has like a whole ass little ting back home in the UK. And the gag was that he had told her he was gonna take her to Playlist Live. And he literally got a hotel room for him and I to share. Obviously, I'm pissed the fuck off. I just show him and I'm like, care to explain? He's like, oh, we can talk about it later. I was like, okay, well then bye. He just fucked off, like at the convention, and went and met up with other friends. And for hours, our whole group was like, please come back. He's so upset. Like, he's so sad. He misses you. Later that night, we're all back at the Airbnb. We talked for like 2 hours. I gave him an ultimatum where I was like, look, I'm not gonna do this shit. You're either gonna date me or we're fucking over. Which, in hindsight, I will never give a man an ultimatum like that again, because you shouldn't have to give a man an ultimatum. Like, if he likes you, he'll do it, you know? But he did it, and he asked me to be his girlfriend, so we made it official that night. It genuinely gets so much fucking worse, because one of the girl's friends sees all of this happening, and thus begins one of the most insane, stalking, cyber harassment incidents of my entire career. This girl's friend proceeded to make 20 plus accounts across TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, where she would just DM me and post the most vile things about my appearance, about me, about our relationship. And this went on after we all went home from the convention. This was going on for like weeks. Back to the original plot of the movie. We say our goodbyes, and of course we're now officially dating and we're long distance. We agree that he's gonna fly out and live with me for a couple months, because I had my own apartment in Utah and he was still living with his parents. But also, I was working a full-time job. Like, I couldn't just up and go to London. He was doing social media full-time, so it just made sense. But I kid you not, as we're sitting in the airport waiting for our flights, I'm watching the news and it's like, first confirmed COVID cases in Florida. And within like 2 weeks, the borders were closed. So he was stuck in the UK and I was stuck in Utah, which, looking back, is a fucking blessing in disguise, because Lord knows what would have happened if he did come and live with me for a couple months. We tried to do the long distance thing for a couple months, and within that couple months, he got really into his Twitch streaming. It went from falling asleep on FaceTime every night to having to literally beg him to call me. So I started watching his streams from like a burner account so he wouldn't know I was on there. And he was gaming with this other girl, like full blown on Discord calls with her, and the chat was like shipping them, and like the chat also knew that I was his girlfriend. It was this whole fucking thing. This girl was like an OF model and content creator who like also kind of had her own following, so it was a mess. Finally confronted him about all of it, and he broke up with me over Snapchat message at 4 a.m. I had work at 6. I showed up to work sobbing, and they literally had to send me home early because I could not stop crying. And then we never spoke again. And that was that. Again, this is no hate. This is just one of those hindsight is 2020 type of situations where I like to look back and laugh, and you should laugh with me. Okay, that's all.
One of the biggest cold cases solved in 2023 was that missing teen Alicia Navarro reappeared in Montana. Alicia was missing for almost 5 years after she left home one night in 2019. Her family and the community searched relentlessly for her for the last 4 years. But in July 2023, she reappeared, showing up at a police station in Montana and asking to be taken off the missing persons list. Here's an overview of her story. 14-year-old Alicia was a sweet young girl who loved to spend time in online gaming forums such as Minecraft and Discord. In 2019, she began acting a little bit differently than she always had. When she was younger, Alicia had been diagnosed with high-functioning autism, so for most of her life, she thrived from routine. But in 2019, this had recently changed. She was showing interest in new things, such as comic books, classic rock, and fitness products. She also began to express interest in things like body spray, makeup, and somewhat provocative clothing, and her mother, Jessica, assumed that these changes were the result of peer pressure at her high school. On September 14th, 2019, Alicia stayed home from school after having a particularly anxious day. She spent the day with her mother, and then that night, she stayed up late playing games online, which was normal for her. Sometime between 12 and 1 a.m., she went downstairs for a glass of water, told her mother that she loved her, then headed back to her room. Around 7 o'clock the next morning, Jessica went downstairs and found that the back door to their home was wide open. In the backyard, she found 2 chairs stacked up against each other placed against the fence, and when she went to check on Alicia, she realized that she was gone. On Alicia's desk was a note that read, quote, "I ran away. I will be back. I swear. I'm sorry." Jessica immediately reported her daughter missing to police, and she knew that she was particularly vulnerable and was likely manipulated to sneak out. A silver alert was issued for Alicia, and the case gained national attention, but unfortunately, it led nowhere. While Alicia had taken several of her belongings, she also left behind things like chargers, indicating that she was planning to come back. There were sightings of Alicia, but she remained missing, and Jessica started to appeal to the public for help in finding her daughter. But Alicia was nowhere to be found until 2023. In July, now 18, almost 19-year-old Alicia showed up at a police station in a northern Montana town. She identified herself and asked for help getting off a missing juvenile list. And she told police that she wasn't hurt and she was safe. The day before Alicia showed up at the police station, a neighbor of the house that she was living in heard her yelling with the man she lived with, but the neighbor only heard her say, "I will go back." It's been reported that Alicia wanted to get taken off that juvenile missing list so she could obtain a driver's license and start living a, quote, normal life. The man she was living with was questioned, but he was released with no charges, and authorities reported that by all accounts, Alicia seemed to be safe and that she had left willingly. In October 2023, it was reported that the man that Alicia had been living with and that had been identified as her boyfriend was 36-year-old Edmund Davis, and that he was arrested on charges related to CP. These charges were not directly related to Alicia, but were thanks to a discovery made while investigating Alicia's case. According to an affidavit, police executed a search warrant on an apartment where Alicia was living with Davis. The affidavit explained that when police arrived at the apartment to execute the search warrant, Alicia claimed she was there alone, but they could see Davis in the kitchen behind her, and they could see that he was throwing away a cell phone into the garbage and placing other items on top of it to try to conceal it. Police ended up seizing that phone during the search, and on it, they found several materials related to CP. On October 23rd, Davis was arrested and charged with 2 felony counts of SA of children. In November, he pleaded not guilty to the charges, and he currently remains in jail on a $1 million bail. On November 1st, it was confirmed from a family representative that Alicia Navarro and her mother Jessica Nunez had been reunited and would be spending the holidays together for the first time in 4 years. No one has been charged in connection with Alicia's disappearance, but her case is one that shook the country and was followed closely by many in the true crime community for years, so her reappearance was huge news. Now we need to give the family privacy and can only hope that she is safe, happy, healthy, and able to live her best life.
I had a client ask for a refund yesterday. So here is my story time about this client. So these girls show up 15 minutes late already. So that already, puts a bad taste in my mouth. But you know what? Things happen. Then the first girl that I'm going to do goes to the bathroom. So by the time that she sits in my chair, we're starting around 20 minutes late. They didn't send any inspo pictures like we asked. So when she was showing them to me, they were so event glam makeup, and they booked a soft glam makeup appointment, but we only had an hour each. But remember, they came late. So I start doing her makeup and she's loving it. She's like, "Oh my god, this is so good. Can I take a picture of what you're using? Oh, this and that, it looks great." I'm like, yeah, she's loving it. I'm working really fast because I want to finish on time. But then she's on her phone with her work, which I understand. I don't mind if my clients are on their phone, but she's like this, moving around, and I'm doing her winged liner. So I'm like, I need you to look in a certain direction. I don't mind if you're on the phone, but please look this direction and chin up. And she kept going like this. I was like, and listen to me, and listen. I'm like, I'm gonna mess up your makeup, lady. And mind you, we don't have that much time, so I need you to cooperate. So I finish her makeup, it looks a bomb. She's like, "Oh my god, can I take a picture of the products that you used? Yada yada." I'm like, sure, no problem. Start the other girl, she wants full glam again. I'm like, alright, and we literally have 30 minutes, so let's do this. So I start doing her makeup, and she knows a little bit more about makeup, so she was telling me what she wanted. And we were talking products, like she was liking how everything was looking. And then all of a sudden, the other girl was like, "This lady, she didn't do a good job at something else, cleaning the house." And the other girl goes, "Well, did you pay her?" And she's like, "No." I'm like, so I got a pit in my stomach. So I was like, let me not judge. Maybe I'm overthinking. I'm like, oh my god, are they not gonna pay? So I finished the makeup at 5:03, and I agree, it could have been a little bit smokier, but again, They didn't schedule the right appointment, number one, didn't send us inspo pics when they booked the appointment, so we couldn't adjust the appointment, and they came late. But if I show you guys the before and after, you'll be like, that looks good. So anyways, she's like, I love it, this and that. And I always try to make my customers feel very welcomed and very at ease if they don't like anything. Like, I literally say, hey, I don't get offended. Please let me know if you don't like something. We could change it. We could work on it. Like, please let me know. Don't be shy. And, you know, sometimes I'll crack a little joke so that they feel comfortable enough to tell me if they want something different. So I'm thinking they left happy because they were like, oh my God, this and that. We're going to go out now. And she tipped me $40 on the card. And I was like, all right. Not even 10 minutes later, she texts my boss asking for a refund. A refund. And basically saying that her and her friend were dissatisfied with the service. Girl, you guys took pictures of products that I was using. You were telling me that you liked it in between the appointments, and then you joked about not paying somebody else? No. So, of course, I'm livid. I'm like, what the heck? This has never happened to me. But I'm like, just, you outed yourself by joking about not paying somebody else. I mean, and why would you tip $40 if you were dissatisfied with the service, number one? Number two, you were late. Number three, you didn't send inspo pics. Like, come on, girlfriend. And the same look is not going to look the same on everybody. If you ask for the same hair as somebody, you have different hair and different hair texture and color, and your hair takes differently. Like, the makeup is not going to look the same. I wish I could show you guys the before and after. You guys will be like, this lady is crazy. So we sent them a message back, and of course they didn't respond. But that was my day yesterday, and honestly, I'm upset about it, but I know and I am confident in my work. I know that these girls probably just do this all the time, so I can't be too upset about it.
I worked at Priceline for 4.5 years, so believe me when I tell you that I have some stories. For anyone who doesn't know what Priceline is, it's an Australian thing. It's just a beauty, well-being and health store. The Priceline I worked at is closed down now. We were a very, very small store, and it was not in the best area, and we were extremely understaffed. We dealt with a lot of theft in that store. Almost every day we were having some kind of issue. The worst theft experience I had at that store was probably a few months before I left. My assistant manager was on her lunch break. We had one lady up at the till who was helping someone in the vitamins aisle, and I had popped to the bathroom. In this very short period of time, 2 women came into our store, somehow managed to shimmy one of the glass doors off of the fragrance cabinet and stole, I think it was up to $2,000 worth of fragrances. And I remember coming back from the bathroom, going into the cosmetics aisle, seeing the door hanging off and just an empty cabinet, and my heart dropped to the pit of my stomach. And surprise, surprise, they completely got away with it. I remember one evening when it was myself and my assistant manager, we were closing the store. I was cashing up all the tills, I was counting the safe, and my assistant manager was just closing up the doors and like making sure everything was all sorted for the end of day. We were completely closed, the lights were off, all the tills were at the back, and then all of a sudden, we're both at the back and we hear someone trying to open the front door. We both immediately panic. My assistant manager goes to the front of the store to see who's opening the door. I'm at the back freaking out because I've got all the money laid out. And this older guy is trying to open the door and he's like, hello, are you open? Are you open? Like I said, lights are off, doors closed, no one's in the store. You can't see a single staff member because both of us are at the back. And my 2IC goes to the front and she's like, no, sorry, we're closed. And he's like, oh, I need a perfume for my daughter. And she was like, well, sorry, we're closed. Like, we can't process any transactions right now. And he's like, oh, well, and he's still trying to open the door at this point. And he's like, oh, well, can you just check this perfume for me? Shows her a photo of the perfume. Oh, what's the price? What's the price? She goes, checks the price, tells him. And then he's just kind of like lingering, like he's not really going away. And still to this day, like, I don't know if he was just genuinely ignorant or maybe if he was up to something. There was this one time where we had a free gift with purchase going on and we didn't get sent the stock of the free gift. And this woman comes in with her husband and she's wanting the free gift, but we didn't have it. And I'm trying to explain to her that we don't have it, but she was being so rude. And then her husband was harping on and he was kicking up a fuss. So I end up giving her free products just to get her out of the shop. Anyway, about a week or so later, this woman ends up writing a complaint to our customer service saying how staff aren't trained properly and how no one was aware of the gift with purchase, so on and so forth, which wasn't true. We were all aware of it, we just didn't have any stock of it. Another thing Priceline is known for is they often have like a lot of clearance or they mark down their products. I remember this one year in particular, we had all these fragrances that had been marked down. Some of them were marked down to quite a lot. So one day this lady comes in and she's wanting to buy a perfume and she's wanting to get one of the clearance perfumes. However, we didn't have a tester for it. This woman was really dead set on trying to smell the fragrance, but we just had to explain to her, like, we're so sorry, we don't have a tester for it. She decides to buy it anyway, but because of her being so dead set on smelling it, the girl working at the till was really clear in explaining to her that once you buy it and you open it and you spray it, it is non-refundable. Like, we cannot put it back on the shelf and sell it again. So what does this woman do? Right there and then, in that moment, standing at the counter, buys it, opens it, sprays it, says she doesn't like the scent, wants to return it. This girl is explaining to her again, I'm so sorry, like, we can't refund it. This is what I explained to you earlier. The woman's not happy. She starts kicking up a fuss. They get my supervisor to go down. She is explaining the exact same thing, like, we're so sorry, we can't do anything about it. The woman starts kicking up even more of a fuss. They have to get my store manager down to then again explain the exact same thing all over. This woman then proceeds to start screaming at all of the girls standing at the till. She's standing there yelling, I'm right, you're wrong, give me my money back, I'm right, you're wrong. She ends up absolutely losing it, grabs another perfume, puts it in her trolley, goes to storm out of the store. My supervisor runs after her, steps in front of her and tries to stop her. This woman rams into my supervisor with her trolley and then ends up just running away and getting away with it. Before I get into it, I do want to clarify a couple of things. No, I did not work at the Armadale store. There's a lot of confusion about Priceline being a pharmacy. There are actually two different kinds of Priceline. So you have your traditional Pricelines and then you have your Priceline pharmacies where they do have a pharmacy off to the side and you can go get a prescription. It just really baffled me how often people would argue with us over the prices of things. We're having this one particular sale and I remember the brand Sally Hansen was like 40% off or something. And with the way that the Sally Hansen bay is set up, some things are kind of hanging on hooks. And so you've got the price and then you've got the product. And this woman was buying a bunch of nail polishes thinking that the price of it was the price that was listed underneath, not on top where the hook was. She starts kicking up a fuss, so I bring my supervisor down to come deal with it. And my supervisor explains to her, oh, sorry, the price is actually listed at the top. This woman gets so angry, she's standing there and she starts yelling, I'm a lawyer, I know what I'm doing, I could sue this company, that's really deceiving. When a customer would yell at me, I wouldn't know how to deal with it, so I'd literally just stand there and I would just be frozen. Another thing I found is that customers would really invade personal space. This older lady comes in and she's asking about a product that we didn't have, and I'm trying to explain to her that we don't have it. And as she's talking to me, she keeps inching closer and closer. And this was during like peak COVID times as well. So we had quite strict social distancing rules in at the time. I was being really mindful. So every time she inched closer, I would take a step back. Anyway, she's talking to me. She keeps inching closer. I keep inching away. And mid-conversation, she stops and she just goes, you're backing away from me? Yes, of course I'm backing away from you. We're in the middle of a global pandemic and you're invading my personal space. Another thing we would have to deal with a lot is people just picking up testers and just using it directly on themselves, which used to always gross me out, but it wasn't like an uncommon thing. However, I remember there was this one day, and there was this woman who was standing near the hairbrushes, picked up one of the hairbrushes, didn't rip it out of its packaging or anything, picks it up and starts brushing her hair. I see her doing this, we lock eyes. As we've locked eyes, she's brushing her hair and then she just dumps it on one of the shelves and walks out the store. Now this last story is a big one, so buckle up. It was literally 15 minutes before we closed. This woman comes in, absolutely guns a blazing, goes up to the girl at the till and just starts yelling at her. Basically, this woman apparently bought an eyeliner pencil and it wouldn't sharpen or it kept breaking or whatever the story was. And this particular girl who was working at the till on this day, she was absolutely lovely and she was so sweet. She was recommending to her to get just a sharpener And this woman is like, what are you telling me to get a special sharpener for? I don't need a special sharpener. This poor girl who was up at the tills, this woman had yelled at her so much that she was literally on the verge of tears. And then my 2IC was like, oh, would you like me to go get our beauty advisor for you? Maybe she can help a little bit more. So my 2IC comes to the back to get me to go up and talk to this lady. Even she's shaking. She's on the verge of tears. This woman has yelled at her so much. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, oh shit. And I go to the front and I try to use the kill 'em with kindness tactic. Absolutely did not work. I say, hi, how can I help you today? I don't need to tell you what I need help with. The other girls have told you. You already know. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So this is how this one's gonna go. All I knew is that she was just going on and on about this eyeliner pencil. Apparently she'd bought it quite recently and it kept snapping and it kept breaking. I take the eyeliner pencil to look at it and it looks old as shit. Like, the entire label has completely rubbed off. It looks like she's honestly picked it out of the bottom of her makeup bag. And I said to her, what can I do to help you? What are you wanting from us? And again, she just keeps yelling and yelling and yelling. And I was sick and tired at this point. And I'll admit, this was not one of my finest moments. This was the first and probably the last time that I have ever yelled back at a customer. All of a sudden, I just snap and I yell at her, I'm trying to help you and you are not listening to me. You keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And eventually I was just like, sorry, I can't do anything for you. You've got to get out of the store. And then she yells at me, this is ridiculous. I'm going to report you to a current affair. She said that as she was leaving the store. And as she was leaving, I yelled back, yeah, good luck with that. And then I gave her my full name. Take this advice from me. If you are working in a retail environment and someone is yelling at you like that and they threaten to like report you somewhere, don't give them your full name. And there were times when people would literally stand in the middle of the store and just yell for someone to help them. I remember there was this one lady who one time literally just stood at the front of the store and just started waving her hands and yelling for someone to help her. And again, I mentioned in my first video that my store in particular was very understaffed. But I just feel like it's never necessary to literally stand in the middle of a shop and like yell out for someone to help you. There was this other time, and this actually happened more than once. I was putting some stock away in the fragrance cabinet, and our fragrance cabinet was in the cosmetics aisle. So I was at the fragrance cabinet and then there was some woman standing down the other end of the cosmetics aisle and literally whistled at me like I was a dog to get my attention. We used to have this one lady who was a bit of a regular at our shop, but she would never really buy anything. Like, she would come in, just kind of hang out in the store, would chat to all the staff. My manager just kind of told us, like, look, if she comes in, just try and deter the conversation just so that you can focus on like other tasks at hand. And like I said, it was all manageable until one day she comes in and she pretends to be one of our reps, which were basically just brand representatives. She's standing in front of the La Roche-Posay shelving and she whips out a notebook and she starts writing things down. And she was there for a long time. Like, she was standing there for a good like hour or so, just writing things down. And any customers that walked past, she was helping the customers. She was pretending to be a rep for La Roche-Posay. It was so weird. I remember this one day, I was still quite new to Priceline. I was on my break and my Priceline was inside a shopping centre. And you know how in shopping centres they have like the little like advertisers kind of like all plopped through. Anyway, I walked past this like advertisement thing, and when I walk past anyone I don't know, I just give them a smile. That's just what I do. And there was this guy there. Walked past, gave him a smile, proceeded walking. Then he yells out behind me, "You have a beautiful smile." I turn around just out of instinct and I was like, "Oh, thank you." And then he goes to shake my hand, but the way he shook my hand was really weird because he like held onto my hand and he looked me dead in the eye and he said, "You have a lovely evening." I was just kind of like, okay, cool. I didn't really think much of it, and then I went back into the store. I'm up at the tills, I'm minding my business, and then this guy comes back into the store. He gets his stuff, he comes up to the till, and he bought the most random things. I remember he bought like toothpaste and a pair of tweezers. Anyway, I put his transaction through, wrapped it up, and then just before he left, he grabbed his stuff and he was like, "Anything to see that beautiful smile again." And I was creeped out. I was creeped out because I was 16. I was a minor at this point. This man was balding. He must have been at least like 30. Now, I don't know if he knew that I was a minor, unless he was just a total freak and he was really into that. I don't know, but it was weird. Anyway, that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed listening to my stories. Unfortunately, I think I'm actually out of Priceline story times, but don't worry, I have so many more ideas of different kinds of story times that I can give you guys. I mean, hey, I'm a freelance makeup artist. I have come across some interesting people in my time, and I've had some very interesting relationships with boys that I'd love to tell you guys about. So let me know if there's anything in particular that you want to hear. And until then, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Bye.